Hello and welcome to the first episode of Clamcast. My name is Carl Stone. You may or may not recognise me from the band Bruce and Carl. This is a podcast where I am going to be interviewing people mainly in Sheffield to begin with, in the hope of talking to other people around the country. But for now, it's going to be just me chatting to people doing interesting things in Sheffield, just to shine a light on some of the things that maybe don't always get recognition. This first interview is with Ed and Calum from Delicious Clam. Surprise, surprise, that we're going to talk about the history of Clam, how it started, then how it picked up to be a label, and then how we moved into the new venue / rehearsal room we have on Exchange Street in the centre of town now, and then the developments from there, and then we move on to what is also going to happen in the future, because we are currently building a studio at that space as well. The first track you listened to was Pourri, which is the latest Delicious Clam release. That was a track called Uncertain, and the EP is called Settle Honey. And if you go to deliciousclamrecords.bandcamp.com, you can purchase the cassette for £3, or you can buy the full digital album for, let's see if I can see, but it'll be for a similar price, I'm sure. This podcast is sponsored by Evil Hoodoo, and if you go to evilhoodoo.bigcartel.com, you can see the current sets of releases that they've done, which include The Gill Sweat, Pleasure Temple, Ritual Band, Mugstar, Max Hall, Bottleneck, which is Dave from Sivhead, Hotel Wrecking City Traders, Blown Out, Cosmic Dead, Os Noctambulas, 39 of the Nortons, Old Testament, and a whole run of fantastic releases. I would also like to point you towards the current fundraising page for the Lug Hole. The Lug Hole is a DIY punk venue, or it's also a label, but they're currently fundraising to move into a new space. And if you have a spare couple of quid, I would fully recommend giving what you can do to that. GoFundMe page for that is www.gofundme.com/lughole-ii. That's www.gofundme.com/lughole-ii. I'll be back about midway through the Clam interview with a couple of tracks of bands that are upcoming at Clam, and just a bit of a waffly bit in there. And then I'll be back at the end with a gig listing for March of what's coming up at Clam and a few other venues, and also just with another couple of tracks, probably of Clam bands. And I will see you on the other side. Warning, this podcast contains swearing, mainly from Chief Naughty Man Ed Crisp. Also, the sound quality isn't too great because I used one microphone, which was definitely my fault. You can hear everything okay, it's just not a perfect sound quality. This is useful for me because I actually know some of this, so it's alright. So when did Delicious Clam start as an actual thing? Because it kind of came across quite quickly from my point of view of like not knowing you guys and just finding out about it, and then not really knowing like even where it was. And I think that I came to a tie-dye gig once, and I think a few years ago, obviously, but like I don't think I actually knew you guys when I first found out.
It must have been like 13, 14? No,
I can't remember.
So whenever we put out the first Christmas single,
that was when the label itself started as a releasing platform, but we never like the studio and the practice space was around before that.
Yeah,
right?
it's like that summer, wasn't it? Because we were creaming and then grafting.
Yeah.
Creaming is when you sell ice cream. That's put it out as a thing.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe it's 2015.
Yeah, I think summer 2015.
Yeah.
Delicious Clam was completely funded by ice cream.
Cream by day, graft by night. I think it was the best summer I've ever had.
Yeah. We just moved downstairs from tie-dye, basically.
It was a studio before then, wasn't it? I remember Jason telling me something.
Downstairs? No, it was just an office. It was an office for a guy who was
like a model
an agent for models.
Like, but he only had one model, and he just had like stacks and stacks of like enemies and Kerrang and shit like that.
The room was just empty the whole time we were at tie-dye, and it finally became available, and we just moved in.
So, like, did it take long to like get it ready and get it like up to, or was it quite an easy?
It wasn't that hard. There was a bit of work, but in comparison to what's happening now.
It took us less than a month until we were just doing like evenings. Yeah. And a lot of that was just like expanding foaming shit to the ceiling.
Yeah, and like boarding up the windows, and mostly just moving in the recording gear and stuff, the studio stuff. But it seemed like quite hard at the time, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Looking back.
After the last summer, like, what's the last 10 months,
last
whatever.
Year.
Yeah. Basically grafting.
Yeah.
So did you guys release something quite quickly from that then?
Well, what was it? It was the Christmas compilation, wasn't it? It was sort of like.
Was that the one with Pajaro and stuff on?
Yeah.
The covers one.
Yeah, the covers except for Avida.
Yes, he had the
Christmas Ghost.
Yes.
I
was about to say Nazi Gold, but I was just like that's the only line I can remember for it.
Christmas Ghost brackets Nazi Gold. That was like the sort of first recording thing that we done.
We did the charity Christmas thing, which the idea of making a label hadn't really come about until we had to have a platform to release it on. So then everything else just followed from there. We just did more recordings and did more little releases.
Yeah, I mean, like, first and foremost, like, it was just a practice room, but like we'd been doing some recording like upstairs when Avida's were like renting some space in tie-dye. I think I was in a different space, like sharing with Blesser. We'd done some bits of recording. We were like, how sick would it be if we had our own space to record in? But like that whole bit was kind of secondary to like just it being like however many bands, like 5 or so bands who just needed somewhere to practice for cheap, basically, because it's like we're all completely skint.
I suppose in the way of like, even when I'm looking back 10 years ago, like the actual amount of spaces to practice now in Sheffield and to make into practice spaces are starting to become quite limited, really.
Yeah, really, and like even in the last like 5 years, like I know that like for instance at Stagworks the rent just keeps going up, and like I think they're just trying to either price people out and then eventually
I just want to point out you're currently about 9 minutes into a recording. You've already called out Stagworks.
That's not calling out. I mean, fuck it. Stagworks is run by West One anyway, so who cares?
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like that's. I don't care. Because that's what they're doing. It's going to be flat. It's like they're moving towards it.
It's a shame because I think I remember I had some practices in there. Like this was years ago. I think Hip Shakes had a practice space in there. Every once in a while.
We used to show a space there with Death Rays. And it was like looking back, it was massive, and it actually wasn't that expensive.
No.
But like for what it was, but I don't know. Like places sort of becoming a bit fewer and further between, I guess.
Yeah, like I think the only place I know where there's a few bits and bobs. It's like down at Calum, but like I think
they're
a lot
really expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say things getting snapped up as well. Like because I think there's quite a bit of not property development, but like the guy who cuts my hair, basically they're trying to make it into like the trendy area. Basically, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's been going that way pretty rapidly. But I mean, we were. I think you were at tie-dye, weren't you? And struggling to get time to do stuff.
Yeah, it was just a bit overbooked. It was too many bands wanting to use the space at the same time, and it just became quite difficult to get practice time.
Well, it's not the bit. That's what I was going to say. It's not the biggest space to have maybe like a lot of bands. Cause it's obviously like. There's no that matters in any way.
Also, like, even when they were doing like fewer shows and stuff, that was when like you moved in once they'd stopped doing so many gigs, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then it was like I remember being like, where'd you put on shows in Sheffield? After that, which I think probably is why, like, with a new space, we're sort of quite keen to have somewhere to put on gigs.
It's been quite like, when you think about it, it's been quite like a natural progression though, from that of just having like a space to doing like a charity single and thinking I need a label, and then thinking actually, well, we can actually do this and we can release these bands, like basically release ourselves. And then like go, and then obviously you get kicked out of that space, but then you go, right, we've actually got that space, we can make a venue. And you've got we can record bands.
It definitely like made sense at times, like just pull like gear into one place and just sort of look at it from like a, because like no one practices 7 days a week.
No.
But no one wants to pay for like practice spaces where you have to go and like set up, and it's like unfamiliar, like, and it's really expensive. Like I hated that. Definitely just wanted my own space and feel like you could just use it whenever or not use it.
I was gonna say about who actually recorded there, of like everyone who you had come through, who like externally, and internally within Clam itself, like you actually ended up having, especially towards the end, there was. I mean, that's how Bruce and Carl kind of got involved in. Like,
There's actually quite
a lot of bands we recorded. There's all the bands involved in Delicious Clam, which was Best Friends, Avida,
Radical
Boy, Long Limbs, the Mightees, Thumbbuster, Fruit Bomb, Pet Rock, and then out of town bands. A lot. Katie Fam and the Moonbathers, we had Fenville Street Band, we had Joey 4.
Yeah, we did Joey 4 for like a session, like a live session.
Yeah, they did one similar time to when we did ours.
Because
they're both on YouTube, am I right in thinking?
Yes. They're on our YouTube channel.
Who else?
We did Oriel's actually ages ago.
Oriel's.
They were like one of the really early ones, I think, that we did. And we were really slack with the mixes. It took ages.
Was that not long after they played Rocking Chair or something like that?
They played at Gatsby with Crush Beats. Oh, we had Crush Beats in for a session as well.
Peter Blocker,
yeah. We had a Sheffield band called Pictures. They approached us to do some recording. Not loads, like all the Thumbbuster recordings were done down there. I think that was like the first and last recordings that I did down there. Like we did the EP when we like first moved in.
Yeah.
And then like finished the album just before we had to move out. So, yeah.
So what was the relationship with tie dye like there? Like I'm just gonna all I want you to do is go. Yeah, it was good.
It was sick. Like when we were looking for new space, we were like, we want to stay. Like we want to have somewhere near you guys. Like we were sort of trying to join forces a little bit at the time.
Yeah, it was really useful to have tie-dye right above us because we didn't have anywhere to put on gigs for a start, but also there was Michael upstairs, Aiken Audio, doing his fixing the amps and stuff. So it worked. It was great for us to have him right above us, ready to fix stuff whenever an amp's broke.
Yeah, which is like most of the time.
Good for him. Yeah.
And we borrowed so much stuff off them like the whole time. Like we couldn't have done half those recordings without like a lot of their mics and and a lot of like help and advice and Andy Michael pretty much was always on hand, just like have a listen and like offer some advice like mixes and stuff. It was really good. It was like I really liked it.
Michael's also a big fan of Detectors, so he's like, he's in my good books. Oh, and there we go. That's the Mightees with The Prettiest Girl in the World. It's off this Smiling EP, which was released on Delicious Clam about 18 months ago. This middle bit, I'm just going to quickly throw you in the direction of some social media and stuff. If you can find Delicious Clam on Facebook at Delicious Clam Records. That's probably the best place to keep up to date with all our latest gigs and going on. If you want to find me, Bruce and Carl on Facebook, it is Bruce and Carl's. Just type in Bruce and Carl on Facebook. If you want to get in touch with me about anything to do with this podcast or Delicious Clam, or or the variety night that we host, if you get in touch with me at bruceandcarlband@gmail.com, you will find me there. If you would like to support Delicious Clam, please go to deliciousclamrecords.bandcamp.com and look at our recent releases, which include Pourri's Uncertain, which we heard a track from earlier, 5 Leaf Nettles, Tommy Hilfiger, Sunny Tanned, Katie Pham and the Moonbathers, Fentonville Street Band, Thumbbuster, Long Limbs, Bruce and Carl, The Mightees, Fruit Bomb, Avida Dollars, and there's a few compilations of Christmas and fundraising compilations of Delicious Clam bands on there. If you would like to sponsor this podcast like Evil Hoodoo has, please get in touch with me again, bruceandcarlband@gmail.com, and I'm more than willing to sponsor anything. Now let us get back to the interview with Ed and Calum. We move on to talk about the new space on Exchange Street and the work that's gone into that. I'll see you at the end for the March gig listings. This next song is by Abjects and it's called Double Bind. The Abjects are playing at Delicious Clam on the 30th of March with Fruit Tones and Bruce and Carl. Tickets are currently online at Party for the People, and they are currently at a reduced price of $4.50, which I think is an absolute bargain. That is due to be a quite excellent show, and one I'm very much looking forward to, and one that I would recommend you get tickets for before it's too late. So what happened when you guys got kicked out of it? Like, what actually, like, was it just, I'm presuming, like a letter from the council, and just given like a month or like?
It wasn't even a letter. It was
handshake.
it was a piece of paper stuck to the lamppost outside.
Yeah, there was like a planning notice, outside, and we were like, oh shit, that'll be happening then.
It was just it was a planning notice, which we noticed very late. We weren't that observant. We didn't really notice till there was about 3 days left to do something about it.
Yeah, and we kicked up a bit of a fuss, and then
I put together a little petition online which kind of kicked off.
It's like change.org, don't know if you've heard of it, but actually changes a lot.
Did it make a change?
No, I mean, it was one of them where it was way too late to do anything, and also like in retrospect, like what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like the whole point of like those buildings is like sort of like they're in this weird bit where like they're not used for what they were first built for, which is like factories and shit.
Yeah.
And that someone who owns that land was like waiting to build on it. But like I mean, more importantly, like that came and went just before the sort of all the Save Dev Street stuff. So it felt like it felt like it kind of fed into each other a little bit. It was sort of there's a lot of support behind like both of those kind of. A lot of people sort of coming out and being like, "What the fuck? We need to be supporting independent like arts and business and stuff." Yeah,
I think like I can't remember whether I told you this before. But, like I had it before where this was back in Derbyshire, but like I was told this was a few years ago. But like when you have like planning permissions and that type of thing, is that basically the public get told about them at the very last stage. So like. Basically, the councils will have plans for like 15 years of like we're going to develop this space, which I presume is kind of what's happening now in a way. But like, they have got plans like that long back in advance of what they want to do to an area, and as a public, you only actually find out about it about 6 months before.
Yeah.
So there's been like 15 years worth of planning that's kind of gone through.
I think what had actually happened, I know, is that the original planning application had gone in like years and years before, and it had lapsed, and so they were just renewing it.
Right.
So like, so
that's why nothing's there now.
Like, but it's been renewed. They're just like waiting to build on it.
Right.
But, I think that's like the worst bit for us was like the way that we found out was them like I think they gave us notice, and then they were sort of like, yeah, you can stay for like however long to get your stuff out, and then all of a sudden after bank holiday weekend they were sort of like, oh no, you have to be out like now. We had a few days like clear out,
and then it was another exactly 6 months after we moved out before they knocked it down.
Yeah, it was stood up for a while. So I think I went down on the day it was getting knocked down and took some nerdy photos. But yeah,
they told us we had to be out because the demolition was starting the next day after we left, but it took 6 months.
I think it seems like I was going to ask the question about what actually happened to the space, but spoiler alert, it's a car park. So it's got like really like with the kind of like the old industrial buildings. At least it kind of looked like it had a history to the area a little bit. And I think like since that's been gone and
there is still like quite a lot of industry that actually does happen.
Yeah, there's that jewellery shop that's down there.
Yeah, and there's like people who make like these safety rings. They just like forge these rings, and there's like up the street there's like a whole building of like maker spaces and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's still quite like there's still stuff going on there. You just don't see it.
No.
Like it looks like nothing's happening.
So we were essentially looking for a new space for quite a while in the end, was it? Like it was at least 6 months?
We left at the end of August, and we were in by January.
We started
looking... It was quite quick in fairness.
Well, we started looking when we got the notice to say that we had to be out, but as always with us, like, it doesn't really kick into gear until you absolutely have to. So we were browsing around, but...
There was a few options though, wasn't there? I remember was there a place up here, not Woodseats, but was it Healy? Was it Healy?
There was a place on off Bramall Lane.
Yeah, we went and I think I remember driving to that and having a look.
Is it like a weird like
it's like
church hall kind of vibe?
Yeah,
like church hall like community space, like sixth form common room kind of.
Yeah. Yes, it was because it had a pool table.
Yeah.
It was alright space, but it was a lot of work. It needed to be done for barely any guarantee on length of time we could stay, so it just didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, and luckily, like we didn't sign for it because it got announced they're like turning them all into flats soon.
Yeah,
but I think now that room is a Swagway course. as part of that Jump Street, the trampoline park thing off Bramall Lane. There's a swagway course in that bit that we were looking around.
Oh, wow.
So swings and roundabouts, isn't it really?
When you were saying like you don't know what's in an area until you start like that's it.
That's
Like,
swagway course. That trampoline place looks sick as well.
Why have we gone on like a clam like?
Yeah, that should have been a Christmas do.
So yeah, we got into. Was it January we got into the space?
Yeah.
Because we opened in
April.
20th of April.
Yeah.
But we were like there was a lot to do when we first moved in. Like basically we were given an empty former wig shop.
Yes.
I believe on Exchange Street.
Yeah.
And tell me about what work has gone into new space since.
Oh my god.
And just tell me about the logistics, like the background of what's happening, and then we'll move on to like the gigs and everything else and all those little things after that.
Okay.
Tell me like don't give me like as much. Don't go into like then we ordered a skip. But like, was it more work than what you originally envisaged, and just things like that, and where you like maybe get to where you are now? And I will get 3 days on the face while you do that.
We like tore it out like completely.
Yeah, we had to take everything back to the back to the brick. There isn't that much brick, but everything. It wasn't built for sound proofing at all. So we had to strip everything back and insulate it, re-insulate it, or in some points just insulate it because it wasn't. It was a lot more work than we anticipated. If we'd have told ourselves then that. How long has it been now?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we told ourselves that we still wouldn't be recording within a year, then we wouldn't have believed ourselves. I don't think.
We were a bit unlucky because we managed to get the only unit on the street that's got like a wooden joist floor the ground floor to the first floor is wooden joist, whereas the rest of them are like concrete. And like if we there's like 3 units down there, and we picked the one that was like the least suitable for what we need to do. So there's like a shit ton of work, like insulating between a pretty flimsy floor and like just insulating everywhere. There's like holes everywhere, like we spend so much time like insulating and plasterboarding, and it was only like a few months ago really that we got around to like starting to actually put walls up upstairs.
Yeah.
Like that was like September, October.
Yeah.
There's just like loads and loads of work to do, like to the ceiling and floor, to try and make it as soundproof as possible on the cheap. Like there's not really a huge amount of money like to do what we're doing, but like I mean it's been really a lot of
a lot of work. We did get distracted. I mean, the first thing to do was to get the practice room sorted so that everyone who was paying rent had a reason to pay the rent. Yeah. But then we got a bit distracted by the gigs because all of a sudden we were left with a venue that we'd never had before. We kind of got excited about putting on gigs, and we did a lot of gigs, which took away from the time we had to graft on the studio. So we kind of
at the same time it was a bit of a juggling act, like trying to raise money for the studio and for like everything else, and like for any shortfalls in rent, and have like put on shows but also try and work on it. It's like insanely time consuming. That's pretty much my whole 2017. We
raised quite a lot of money at the fundraiser that we had at the Picture House on Avida Road. And we thought that would be enough money to get the whole thing sorted, but we soon realised that didn't didn't get us. Well, we basically ran out of money, so we had to start putting on gigs to get enough money to start work on the studio again. So there has been like sometime up to a couple of month periods where there's been nothing happening upstairs on the studio.
But you are getting there now. We're quite near to completion. This will probably be going out in February, guys. It's alright.
Every time I don't see someone for like a couple of months, like, oh, how's it going down there? I'm like, yeah, getting there. I've been saying that for about 6 months, I think.
I think now, from what I can see, like when experiencing it, kind of like, I think I'm getting to a point now where you're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. You can start seeing what it's going to be.
Yeah. And
that's quite exciting from the point of view of like that studio, once it's done, it's going to be a very useful space for everybody to use. But like... Yeah.
I just don't want to be like sick of it by the time it gets to that point. Like, I don't know how many hours I would have spent there since like in the last year, but I reckon it's quite a lot. And yeah,
the last thing you want is to finally have it done and then be like, fuck this, and I want to be in here.
Yeah, it would So I mean, it's been nice that we've been in a position where we can like essentially design and build like within a fairly limited space, limited by like the actual like fabric of it and stuff, like being able to like design around that and like being able to like sort of build like
I think as well it's probably been like an amazing like learning experience of like having a project and seeing it through from like start to finish. Like and being like, right,
we'll be once it's finished.
Yeah.
We've learned how to plumb in toilets. We've learned how to build walls.
Yeah.
So that's a useful skill.
Yeah. I mean that's something that we didn't include on the list earlier of stuff that we've done. Like we put toilets into the ground floor of that building. Like
I think that was kind of like one of my favourite memories, especially the night before the opening night. Of 1 o'clock in the morning, being in that downstairs,
cleaning in the poo pipe.
Yeah. Like
we've had like absolutely loads of help. Like we wouldn't have done the toilets if it wasn't for Sam from Food Hall. Shout out. We essentially like beyond building like some like mirrors out of like wood and stuff like that. Like mine and Calum's practical skills are pretty limited. Like I'm pretty stoked that we've learned quite a lot of things, but at the same time I never want to do any of those things ever again. I kind of like spent more time grafting than I have making music this year. Last year, sorry.
I think that's the thing of just like actually quite a number of bands who have probably had to like in a way stop because it's been nothing like you kind of want to go out and play gigs and not have to think. Like go to like say go be in club and think there's this to do or that to do actually have a space you can use for gigs and to practice in. And what have so far been your cultural highlights of Clam? Like of things that are like the nights that you think like because I was thinking of this as well of like say of like memories of like actually that was a really good gig because like fortunately like we're in a situation where you guys do the sound and everything and you know what that room sounds like, so like it's rare that a band comes and you think that doesn't sound very good. But as well from having an amazing PA. But like, like there's been so many things that have happened, like, and different things that have happened as well. I knew you said fight. I didn't want to coax anything.
I was going to drop it straight away.
No, don't. No, but like there's like personally for me, like there's the San Martino release show. Which I thought was an absolutely brilliant night.
It was really good.
And like, just the whole Tramlines weekend, which I just thought was like...
Yeah, Tramlines was a highlight for me, definitely.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was the first real thing we did, but...
Yeah.
There was just lots going on. We had so many bands coming through, circulating that weekend.
I'll be the first to admit, like I wasn't there the whole time, but like, it seemed for like what was potentially quite a stressful time for like... It went relatively smoothly and was was fun because of it. Like I don't look back on that weekend and think, oh, there was this disastrous thing that happened. I mean, like
Yeah,
I mean, if I'm wrong, but like, yeah.
No, it stressed me out in the lead up to Tramlines, but I think Thursday and Friday night both really fun. I think like once Thursday was sort of good, I was sick. I think the only point I stressed out was like Saturday being like a daytime thing. This is where it could all just be shit, but like people still showed up, and like when we shut on Saturday night, it was like full.
There've been a lot of great gigs. Both Duds gigs for me were highlights.
Yeah.
The second one they did a sort of half the band were missing, so they did a sort of one-off set, lots of new songs that they'd sort of made up for that gig, and they were supported by Marauder, who came over from France, which was also a really, really good show.
Mark Riley's just started playing them.
Marauder?
Yeah. Like, no, do you know the shout out we got from Mark Riley, where somebody from Sheffield basically said, "I saw Marauder at Delicious Clam and they were great." I think he might have had him in session. I'm not 100% sure.
I think that Sean Nicholas Savage Spinning Coin show.
That was one of the busiest shows we've had as well. Yeah.
And that was like one of the really early shows as well. We'd only done that was great.
On New Year's Eve we did Clam in Their Eyes, which was a spoof of Stars in Their Eyes, of when Rod Stewart should have won. How did you find like being on stage and that in the end, like doing your role?
It was alright. I was very nervous, but I just got nice and wasted. It wasn't. I got quite into it by the end.
I think like you did a very good job.
Oh, thanks. Well, we are thinking about possibly doing it again, at least next New Year's Eve, possibly, but not then, and possibly before again, maybe in another city, possibly Manchester. The idea's been floated anyway, so it would be fun to try and do it again, make it something we could do.
We've done some karaoke nights, karaoke sort of after parties.
Yeah. I think it's like a good bank holiday treat, like a Sunday night bank holiday treat.
Love a good karaoke, just like just a bit daft. No.
I think it was a nice end to the year of like doing something special like that and just going like all in for it. Like, I think it kind of really, it just set a nice tone.
I know we've got a Stars in Their Eyes style sliding door forever. Never going to get taken down.
Quick rundown of the March gig listings. This is mostly a list of things happening at Delicious Clam, plus a few bits and bobs. I fully understand that I'm scratching the surface on this, so if you have anything that you have coming up and feel like I'm missing out on, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me at bruceandcarlband@gmail.com. I will put a link to that in the description of this podcast, because I want to make sure that I get a wide variety of different shows happening. I fully understand there's going to be things happening at places like Shakespeare, Washington, Yellow Arch, and all over the city that I've probably missed out on here. So I fully encourage people to go and check out those venues and see what is happening. Also, another good place is to go to Small Ideas, their Facebook page. I think they have a thread which usually has shows being promoted on. Also, as well, I've not put any gig prices or anything on this. If you hear a gig on here that you feel is worthwhile checking out, I fully recommend going onto Facebook and just typing in the band and probably the venue, and it will come up and you'll find more information there. So as we're already partway into the month, we will start on March 16th, where there's a Lamplight Club at Regatha, which is Sam Moss and DBH. On Saturday the 17th, there is Barefoot Beware, TWDYE, Atoto So and Nagules at the Audacious Art Experiment. On Sunday 18th, the Number Ones are playing in town, I think with Robin Natas, and the Facebook event says it is at Lord Nelson. March 22nd, the Bear Tree present the Casey album launch at Picture House Social, And on the same night, Kieran Linnard is playing at Audacious Art Experiment with support from Loic 2K. On March 25th, Blind Haze, Heavy Sentence and Pink Six play at Shakespeare. And there's also the Hookworms and Virginia Wing gig that's currently sold out at Picture House. I say currently, it is sold out at Picture House. Then on Friday 30th, there's the aforementioned Abjects, Fruit Tones and Bruce and Carl gig at Delicious Clam. Then on March 31st, there is recently been added the Ganglions, Yo Dynamo, Tommy Hilfiger and Loic and the Tojimura. I can't read my own handwriting. That's again at Audacious Art Experiment. On April 1st, it's Jesus and His Judgmental Father, Kinky and Anatomy, and that is at Delicious Clam once again. There's a few extra bits that are happening this month of different things. There doesn't seem to be any Regather Comedy Night this month, or Big No No, at which is currently held at Rutland, and I think the Mr. Panda Comedy Night at Haglers has already happened. What is happening on March 13th is Dan Dillon Ray's monthly music documentary night at Picture House Social, and this month it's a documentary about Roland S. Howard, the guitarist from Birthday Party Crime and The City Solution. The film's called Autolumen. I can't even say the word. Autoluminescent. You get what it's going to be a great documentary, and I'm sure that's worth going down to. And finally, on March 21st, there's Cafe Cuckoo, which is what a friend of mine runs, where it's essentially a pop-up restaurant at Regather for one night only, and this month it's serving Iranian cuisine. And if you fancy a meal out, as a one-off, I would say that is going to be as good as any you'll go to that month. That's about it. I'm going to play you out with a track I found once I was looking at all my old tracks that's on my recording device that I'm using for this, where I found an acoustic version of Bruce doing a Bruce and Carl song called He Did Love, and I'm going to finish out with that, and I should see you hopefully at the end of the month. If not, it'll be the start of April, and I'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Go.
He don't care, he just stares at the clouds in his eyes. His feet were the street showing off his disguise. The person he is and the person he ain't. It's all lost by the lies that they read. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. Yeah, he thinks he's a man and he thinks he's a boy. His poems won't tell him what he can destroy. And I often ask what I could have done to stop his actions underneath the sun. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. Well, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And that I say you can't go and quote. I learned it from an old man called Jim, and I just went and quoted it from him. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. Well, this man I see is a friend of mine. A man who's big and thin and light. And I believe he's gonna live, and that's all he can do, so let him live. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. He did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. Yes, he did love, he did love, he did love, he did love. Yes, he did love, he did love, he did love, he did love.
Manufactured by Mightees.